Okay, well, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of Greenville City Council. We've been downstairs for the last couple hours on a workshop. So now we're here for this meeting tonight. So if you would, please stand for our invocation by Councilmember Brazington, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you please join me in prayer? Dear Lord, we gather together tonight to give thanks for the individual blessings as well as the collective blessings that we enjoy as a community. And as we seek to do the business of the city of Greenville, we ask for your continued guidance to pursue those things that are right and best for our citizenry. We also ask for courage as we deliberate on complex and pressing items before us today. And we thank you for all that you provide us with in terms of the men and women of the city who work to do the good on a daily basis. It's in your name that we raise this prayer. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, by the way. Well done. Clerk will now call the roll.
Councilmember John DeWorke.
Here.
Councilmember Lillian Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Ken Gibson.
Here.
Councilmember Will Brazington.
Here.
Councilmember Russell Stahl.
Here.
Councilmember Dorothy Dow. Here. Mayor Knox White.
Here. Council, you have the minutes of May 19th before you. They'll stand approved as submitted unless there are any objections. Okay, seeing none. We have a number of folks I noticed who signed up to speak. We also have some folks who need places to sit. So I'm going to do this real quick. We have some presentations from the City Youth Committee. I'm going to take that first. There are a lot of them here tonight, and perhaps we can rearrange some people after that. So with that, Madam Clerk, what do we have first up on that?
Yes, sir. We'd like to invite our youth poet laureate. And first of all, we'd like to introduce the Recreation Operations Director Manager, Tamika Pollard. And I think Tamika is going to be introducing our poet laureate as well as our youth commission.
Okay. Tamika? Oh, there you are. Hi.
My name is Tamika Pollard. I'm serving as a recreation operations manager for the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism division. I also have the pleasure of serving as the liaison for the Youth Commission. And Shaquila Valentine is a great help to that as well, assisting again this year. I would just like to say thank you to our city manager, to our city council, and our mayor for having us today. A couple of weeks ago, 9 of our youth commissioners graduated. They walked across the stage, and we're just so proud of them. And all of them are pursuing higher education. Even got one for the SEC, going to Tennessee, but this year, so that was a win for me personally. But we have a few of them with us today representing the class of 2025. We're proud of them all, even the one who chose Alabama. Had to get that in there. But Anna has been a part of the Youth Commission, our Youth Poet Laureate, and we're extremely proud of her. I thought it would be so fitting for her to have some words to kind of represent the experience and kind of give the youth commissioners that have graduated a charge. So I would definitely like to go ahead and introduce her and let her come up, Anna Castro Spratt, and give a special piece for us.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's good to see you guys again. So I'm Anna Castro Spratt. I've been the Youth Poet Laureate of Greenville for the last 2 years. My term just concluded May of this year while I graduated from the Governor's School of the Arts and Humanities. And I've been a part of the Greenville Youth Commission for the last 2 years as well. It's been an incredible experience to get to know more about our local government, about what they're doing, and about what you guys are doing. And I've seen firsthand all of the hard work that the graduates this year have put into bettering the city of Greenville. So I thought it would only be fitting for me to write a poem about them and their impact on us in the city. So this is after Margaret Piercy's poem, To Be of Use. It's also titled To Be of Use. The ones I trust most don't wait for the world to invite them. They gather their things, those books, those shoes with worn soles, the words of their mentors still warm in their pockets, and go. They are not looking for ease. I believe in the ones who stay late, who underline what matters until that page is worn thin, who ask not what can be said, but what must be done. They will not wait to be told. They are not interested in the comfort of half-finished plans. They take the work into their hands like rope, like soil, like something to be shaped, and they pull. Against injustice, pain, that pillow soft pain against the thick weight of what came before, they do not move for show. They move because it matters. They do not dream of perfection, but of forward motion. How one life, met with purpose, can shift the weight for every life else. And when the time comes, when the world says, this is too much, you are too young, this cannot be changed, they do not flinch. They lift their hard new hands like tools, step onto the field, and fly. Thank you.
Go Cats.
Step onto the field and fly. And don't you stop. You know, the sky is actually not the limit, it's limitless. And I just want everybody who has graduated this year to know that we are always here to support you. We're rooting for your success. I always say whether you come back as just a citizen, an active citizen of the community, a city leader, or if you decide to join us as city employees of the city of Greenville, we're happy to support you any way we can in your success. So thank you, Anna, so much for sharing that. So I'm going to call out all our graduates' names at this time. We have 3 that were able to join us today. So we're definitely thankful for them. First one is Anna Castro Spratt. Will you please stand? From the SC Governor's School and attending Davidson College. Next one is Rory Clements, St. Joseph's Catholic School. She's not here with us today, but she is going to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Next up, Erin, and she served as co-chair. Next up, Erin Helsell, co-chair, Greenville High School, going to the University of South Carolina. Winnebeth Bannister, Greenville High School. She is going to Clemson University. We have Gabby Barrera, J.L. Mann High School, going to the University of South Carolina. And Nicholas Cabrera, J.L. Mann High School, who's going to the University of Alabama. Stand for me, please. So proud of him. Natalie Mecklenburg, Greenville Technical Charter High School, University of South Carolina. Natalie's actually doing our summer camps this year. She's working as a counselor. We're thankful for her. And Grant Rajanala, J.L. Mann High School, going to the University of South Carolina. Stand for me, please. Proud of you as well. Evie Simmons, J.L. Mann High School, going to College of Charleston. And those are all our graduates. So can we give them all a hand collectively? I said I would not get teary-eyed this year, but I just want to say, me and Miss Shakila, we're both thankful for all of you guys. We really enjoy watching you learn and grow and have great experiences. And like I said, we are here beyond this moment. And I'm sure every single person up here serving as well would agree. So if you need something, do not hesitate to reach out to us. At this time, I'll turn it back over to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate the participation of all the schools and of course all the students, and thank you for your collaboration. They put their lives at risk this year, by the way, guys. They were having a downtown Greenville tour in the evening of the microburst. Do you remember the microburst that happened before Helene? They were right in the middle of it all when it happened in downtown Greenville, and they escaped with their lives, but they did escape. So that took some courage. So thank you very much. Okay, we have a number of folks who signed to speak to us. Remember, we have a 3-minute rule. And I told you we'd open up some new seats. And with that, Joe Farmer, You get to go first. I get to the other one.
Joe Farmer, 207 Alpine Way. I'm here tonight to ask you to remove item 11B from tonight's consent agenda. Let me remind you, on the surface, this doesn't seem anything bad, but last May, the Board of Zoning Appeals denied an application by 4 local businessmen for a renovation of an existing old service station to convert it into a coffee shop with a drive-through. And if you remember, I came to you in December and told you about this because in November, the Board of Zoning Appeals heard from another group who included Chris Price, the immediate past chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals, who wanted to build a coffee shop directly across the street, would be a new construction. These were at 299 South Pleasantburg and 298 South Pleasantburg. Now, the staff recommended against it because it was against a comprehensive plan, that it was an urban node mixed use. They wanted a multi-story building. And according to 19-3.4.4, it did not conform to the setback consistency. So how did we get here tonight? Well, if you take it out of the urban node, it changes it. So why are we requesting this change? It's been there. We're talking about one block. These are the only 2 businesses that would be affected on that block. It seems to me there's too much behind the scenes. On the surface, as it reads, it looks like, oh, it's okay. But how did we get here? How is Chris Price involved in this? And all of a sudden, we need to get this urban node changed. We went through this comprehensive process for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And we're moving at 1 block. Something's fishy. It doesn't look right on the surface. The night of the meeting in November, 2 citizens attended that board meeting. Myself, and sitting in the back, one of the members of the guys that got denied in May. You better believe this is going to be a lawsuit if this goes forward. I would like you to not have one. All you have to do is nothing. It's the easiest thing in the world. Just don't vote on it tonight. Take it off the agenda, let it stay like it is, and everything goes on. I don't want to be back here in December telling you I told you so, because that's what's going to happen. And if we get sued, I'm going to tell you, I told you so. Questions?
Clarence Thornton.
Excuse me, that is Minister Clarence Thornton. I don't know why y'all don't want to get that right. I reside at 114 Dorothy Street, Greenville, South Carolina. I'm talking about affordable housing. Greenville, South Carolina, we are far behind. As I said and listened to people talk about their problems last city council, Grady Butler said we are far behind. And the problem is severe. Now, he marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, and he fought those same issues in 1960s with Dr. Martin Luther King. How do we still have the same problem here in Greenville, South Carolina today? America, America, where art thou, America? Why are we fighting these same issues today? Dr. King said, when you are behind in a race, you must run harder and faster to catch up. The leaders of the city promised us a better way of life, but it's not a better way of life for the poor. It's not a better way of life for the middle class, nor is it a better life for the minorities. It's not a better way of life for minorities in the neighborhood. Some of the apartments in West Greenville would be $2,000 a month. Some would be $3,000 a month. How do retirees on a fixed income pay this? So they are forced out of their neighborhood, not by choice, but by design. Affordable housing should be a human right. When you protect the people, the city takes care of itself. Development will take care of itself. Ms. Butler felt betrayed. She said she worked on Greenville Comprehensive Plan, and every time they always turn it around. Gentrification is used in our neighborhoods to weaken our African-American representatives. We must protect our great city from these developers whose only interests are to make money and maximize their profits. Our voices are not heard. They don't care about the poor in this city. They did the same thing in Detroit, in New York, in Chicago. And Greenville doing the same thing with all its apartments. Jesus reminds us to take care of the poor. Violence in our city is increasing. Violence in our county is increasing because we are so much worried about how much a developer can make on a piece of property as opposed to take care of its citizens. I ask the question again, America, America, where art thou, America? Y'all are supposed to be the heroes of this city. Y'all supposed to protect the citizens of this city from these rude, cruel developers. They come in our neighborhood and they treat us like dogs. And all they care about is the money. We're going to put up 30 apartments in this one little spot. I pray that you make better decisions for the citizens and the poor in our neighborhoods. Thanks.
And we have a number of other folks who've signed up to speak on a couple other topics, especially item 15E, I believe it is. Okay. So I'm going to call folks to come up. I'm going to ask you to come up in some groups so we don't waste time between folks. So if Tom Gorman, Rance Bryan, and Megan Bart would come forward, I'd appreciate it. That's in that order. Tom, you're first, I guess, Rance Bryan, and Megan. Is Megan here? Megan here? Oh, really? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. We have that's a list. Okay. All right. Oh, Megan, you're here. I was just calling you.
Good afternoon. My name's Tom Gorman. I live at 100 South Hudson Street, Unit C19, one of 23 Park Place on Hudson townhomes. I'm president of the PBOH Homeowners Association. Our campus is bordered by Oscar Street on the north, Meadow Street to the south, and several city-owned lots to the west. Today, I'm speaking in favor of enacting the ordinance in 15E to prohibit public camping and the improper use of city property. We favor the many initiatives, including Greenville Together, working to support the homeless population. And we view this ordinance as another building block to address the issue. I can speak to the needs of the ordinance in our neighborhood just north of Unity Park, bordering the coming Greenville Housing Fund's Southern Senior Side Apartments to our north, construction of which began today, by the way. The City Park area, honoring Lilla Mae Brock on the corner of West Washington and South Hudson, is inaccessible due to the homeless campers that number between 12 and 18 daily. Several residents of PPOH have experienced harassment when walking past the corner unaccompanied. This public park area and GHF's adjacent property have become both a dumping ground for trash and a public toilet for campers and need continual cleanup. In 2025, we've experienced several incidents of trespassing by the homeless on our campus. Camping shelters were erected on the properties of 101 South Hudson, on the northeast corner lot of Nassau and Oscar Street, and on the northeast corner of Gibson, South Hudson. We've witnessed camping inside Unity Park's picnic shelters adjacent to the Reedy River. We're under no illusion that Greenville has the full complement of resources and facilities to support the homeless. But we're also under no illusion that all of the homeless are actively seeking aid from currently available sources. We believe this ordinance will further encourage the search and acceptance of the existing and future services. We've been engaging with members of City Council and with City Manager Laverin's office since February on this issue. Without this ordinance, many of the public areas in our neighborhood will remain unsanitary, inaccessible, and unsafe for all residents. On behalf of the more than 40 residents of Park Place on Hudson, I encourage enactment of this proposed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rance Bryan?
Mr. Mayor, can we have decorum for all of our speakers?
We-
Every one of our speakers, we should have decorum.
We have 3 minutes for the speakers. Mr. Bryan? Okay. Sorry, you're next. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Rance Bryan and I work and live in the city of Greenville. I'm employed by the Bank of Travelers Rest and my office is in downtown Greenville at 217 East Washington Street. I worked in our downtown office for the last 8 years. I also served as the president of the Downtown Merchants Association and have held this role since August of 2017. The Downtown Merchants Association is a group of over 300 merchants and business owners in the Central Business District of Greenville. We meet monthly, and the goal of this group is to inform and share ideas that will help our downtown business owners prosper. We've discussed numerous topics over the years, but recently the one topic that has been brought up most frequently is homelessness. Our downtown business owners have interactions, both good and bad, with homeless individuals on a daily basis. Many of these individuals are kind and cause very few disturbances. However, some are not, create uncomfortable and at times dangerous situations. Some of these include sleeping in doorways, locking themselves in bathrooms, panhandling, loitering, and unfortunately aggressive and threatening behavior. These disruptions interrupt the normal course of business and can have a direct impact on sales. The other major concern for our downtown business owners is the safety of their employees. Young adults, even teenagers, work in many of the businesses along Main Street and are not prepared for interactions with homeless individuals. Some of these businesses open very early or close very late, which can increase the risk of dangerous situations. The Merchants Association also understands that our individuals facing homelessness are people with rights, families, and freedoms. At our meetings, we have had service providers such as Triune Mercy Center and the Greenville Homeless Alliance discuss their capabilities and resources. Many of our downtown businesses work closely with these groups to try and provide assistance when they can. We are blessed to live and work in a beautiful city that has a variety of businesses, both large and small, and they are all located in our central business district. Safety and business-friendly environment helped attract these entrepreneurs, and many have invested their life savings to create a workplace that will support their families and employees. We are asking council to please provide an ordinance that can assist with situations involving homeless individuals. We will be happy to work with council members, city, police, and other partners on this issue. Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you all do for Greenville every day.
Thank you. Megan Barr.
Good evening. My name is Megan Barb, and I am the president and CEO of United Way of Greenville County. We launched Greenville Together, a Home for All in 2024 because we saw a growing crisis of unsheltered homelessness in our community, and we knew that we needed to do something different. This initiative was built with intention. It brought together leaders from across sectors, including government, nonprofit, business, philanthropy, faith, and most importantly, individuals with lived experience. We asked, how can we get our arms around this challenge and solve it together? Many of the folks who are part of this initiative are right here in this room. We haven't seen anything like it before in Greenville. Co-chaired by Pastor Sean Dogan and Carl Sobozinski and supported by national experts, Greenville Together developed a clear community-informed plan to reach functional zero for unsheltered homelessness, making it rare, brief, and non-recurring. That work is already underway. And let me be clear, it takes time, it takes intention, and it takes funding. We agree that the city should address public health and safety hazards, absolutely. But we believe just as strongly that it must be done in a way that is collaborative and that actually solves problems, not just moves them. Our nonprofits are working incredibly hard with limited resources, and yet their commitment is unwavering. Greenville Together builds on that strength. It enhances collaboration across sectors. It fosters real problem solving. And most importantly, it centers lived experience, meaning the people who are currently or have recently been unsheltered. Their voices aren't an afterthought, they're a guiding force. Many of the points that you'll hear tonight ring true, especially the urgency of this issue and the need to work together. But we cannot afford to confuse fast action with real solutions. Because lasting progress doesn't come from punitive policies, it comes from partnership, coordination, and a shared commitment to do this work the right way. So we ask this council to move forward with care, with transparency, and with humility, recognizing that change must be shaped with our community, not imposed upon it. Anything less risks unraveling the hard-fought momentum we've begun to build together to make Greenville a home for all. This community is built on incredible choices that have been made over the past 100 years, and I believe that we have the opportunity right now to make choices that benefit all in our community. Thank you.
Let's have Elizabeth Jameson, John Slipsky, and Jenny Weidenbender kind of be ready to speak. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're first. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Jemison, and it has been my pleasure to be a Greenville City resident for the last 10 years as of this month. My husband and I tell everyone what a wonderful place Greenville is to raise our 3 young children. We love where we live, on a block full of families near downtown, right between council members Dow and Brazington. I pushed my stroller to the farmer's market last Saturday, and my husband runs the Swamp Rabbit Trail most mornings. Greenville is a wonderful place to live. That is for highly educated, affluent white folks like us. Over the decade we have lived here, housing costs have soared. Eviction rates across the city and county lead the nation. The median income in the city of Greenville for white families is more than 3 times that of Black families. Economic mobility for those born poor is almost non-existent. Hashtag yeah, that Greenville is not for everyone. Homelessness is complex, but high housing costs are a driving factor. Greenville Together is leading the way with a housing surge effort that has plans to bring Greenville to functional zero homelessness. I applaud the nonprofit leaders, many in this room tonight, who are leading this effort. And I appreciate the city's support. The City Council has aided many affordable housing projects, as last week's opening of the Riley Overbrook Apartments shows. Thank you for supporting affordable housing. It's a great start. Housing and support solve homelessness. This proposed ordinance does not. I do not understand the problem that this ordinance seeks to remedy, because homeless folks are not impeding Greenville's many awards for its tourism, its nightlife and restaurants, its concerts and sporting events, or its development of award-winning parks with dazzling observation towers. This ordinance is vague enough that I could be found in violation for putting my 10-month-old to sleep during Shakespeare in the Park. But it clearly gives police permission to harass homeless folks or anyone they think possibly homeless. Targeting the poor is unjust and immoral. It is also impractical. Homeless folks can't afford fines. Putting them in jail does not help them get housed. Let's work as a city to support the positive efforts of Greenville Together and abandon efforts to target the poor by destroying their tents and seizing their belongings. We can do better than this ordinance or any like it. Then maybe Greenville could be just a little bit more of a city that's for all of us. That's really the kind of place that I want to raise my children. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is John Slipke. I reside at 43 Tyndall Avenue in Greenville. Becky Worth, who resides at 1 Seawright Lane, also in Greenville, was also planning to be here. She may be downstairs, I'm not sure. Becky and I are co-vice presidents of the Haney Serene Neighborhood Association. As representatives of Haney Serene, we've been asked to provide public comment on City Council Agenda Item 15E, an ordinance to prohibit improper use of city property and facilities in public camping. This public comment represents the views of the leadership of the Neighborhood Association. The ordinance states that the city of Greenville has a significant governmental interest in protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, in maintaining city-owned property, in protecting the safety and well-being of its citizens experiencing homelessness, and in facilitating the provision of social services. We wholeheartedly agree. We are uncertain, however, if this ordinance as proposed will best serve to meet these interests. We commend the city of Greenville and its leadership for its commitment to the issues of homelessness and affordable housing. Significant funding has been provided for affordable housing and homelessness outreach. Partnerships with community stakeholders and service providers have been effectively fostered and supported. In our view, the city of Greenville has been a leader in developing innovative, affordable housing strategies with consistent year-over-year funding and public-private partnerships that are now beginning to demonstrate real progress. Specific to the issue of homelessness, over a year ago, the city funded and supported the Greenville Homeless Court at the request of community service providers. This past fall, the city helped fund and establish Greenville Together, Greenville's united effort to address homelessness. These are laudable actions that hopefully will have a positive impact over the next few years. Becky and I are not housing or public safety experts, and we cannot speak for other neighborhood associations. However, from our perspective, the public review of this ordinance appears to be rushed. We knew nothing of this ordinance until this weekend and now have a number of questions and concerns. We have the utmost respect and confidence in city leadership and this council. Perhaps with more background and understanding, we would be fully supportive. However, at this point, we are not able to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance or against it. Perhaps a pause in the approval process is prudent in order to re-engage with the community. To be certain, the adoption of this ordinance, in whatever form it takes, will say much about our community. We are confident in the end this council will get it right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jenny.
My name is Jenny Weidenbenner, and I live in the city limits of Greenville. I'm a registered nurse, and for the last 10 years of my career, I have focused my nursing skills in the community and on mental health. I work at Homes of Hope currently with affordable housing, our residents, and connect them to resources in the community. When I moved back to Greenville in 2017, I worked at St. Anthony's Catholic Church in school. My time there was spent in our food pantry, where I was tasked to help connect those neighbors and community members to healthcare resources. This was good and well-intentioned work, except that if people aren't in stable housing, the choice to show up for your doctor's appointment goes way down on the priority list. So I did the next reasonable thing. I picked up people in my car from their cars and took them to New Horizons and Triune and the ER and the Social Security office and you name it. I want to tell you about Tom, who I'd become friends with while working at St. Anthony's. My friend Julie and I worked hard to find a house in West Greenville that he could afford with his Social Security check, which is probably around $800 a month. And we did find a small home on Douthat Circle in West Greenville. I believe Tinsley worked with us and he paid around $500 a month of that $800. The church provided the financial means to pay his utilities, and for a year we provided the supportive services he needed and wanted to support his life, taking him to the grocery, the bank, his medical appointments. But it was during this time that the properties on that street and the surrounding area were being flipped. He, among several other folks we housed, were homeless as properties continued to flip. And then I continued to watch it happen on Gower, on North Leach, on Howard, all because the investors were seeing the prospects of City Council constructing an $80 million Unity Park in their backyard. The unifying and the promise fulfilled park. And as we watch this happen, it has put immense pressure on us in the social services sector to figure out housing solutions that are either insufficient or non-existent. So as you built this incredible park with the promise of additional affordable housing, not one unit has been constructed. Not Southern Side Senior 1, not Southern Side Senior 2, Oscar Street, or Lighthouse. The city has donated the property and contributed substantially, of which is incredibly noble, and I appreciate it. There's a park, this park is, as you've all built and funded graciously, however, it's a park that has also actively contributed to people in West Greenville and Southern Side becoming homeless. We do not have a day shelter. We do not have a 24-hour bathroom. We do not have enough mental health resources. I want to remind us that the true measure of any society is found in how it treats its most vulnerable neighbors. What I believe we as the city were working toward was Greenville Together, a strategic collaborative effort to house those experiencing chronic homelessness, backed by numerous invested organizations and community partners. I urge you to pause this proposed ordinance, let's give the Greenville Together a plan, the very one you have developed and committed funding to, a real opportunity to work before enacting yet another policy that risks further harming our most vulnerable. Adding another criminal charge only creates new barriers to the very housing you've worked hard to create. Thank you.
Okay, next, come on down, Lizzie Bieber, George Campbell, Kevin Mahaley. Are the others here? Jim Herbie. Okay. If they wish to.
I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
Mayor White and Greenville City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Lizzie Bever. I'm the president of United Ministries, but I'm here tonight on behalf of the service providers who work in proximity with those experiencing homelessness. Councilmember DeWorkin, we, the directors and CEOs of United Ministries, Miracle Hill, United Way, United Housing Connections, Train Mercy Center, and Greenville Together, thank you for taking the time to meet with us over the last few weeks concerning this ordinance. Per our discussion in both meetings, we've provided a list, which you have in front of you, which we believe must be addressed or that is in the works with specific plans in place before we can support the implementation of an anti-camping ordinance. I've provided this copy for you. And for the public here with us, I'm going to go through quickly and read the 10 recommendations. Number 1, the ordinance must have clearly defined objectives, not just in enforcement, but in meaningful outcomes. Number 2, enforcement must be trauma-informed for both law enforcement and outreach teams through comprehensive training. Number 3, an outreach first approach is absolutely critical, and currently the outreach team that is in place is only available during the day. In order to provide 24-hour coverage, it will require more funding. Number 4, the ordinance must also mandate supportive services alongside enforcement. Enforcement alone will not solve the issues. Number 5, protect due process to ensure fair treatment, which includes but is not limited to homeless court. Number 6, enforcement zones must be clearly defined and limited, targeting only sensitive or high-risk public spaces, such as near schools, with a narrowly defined concept of camping in order to avoid criminalizing survival. Number 7, protect personal property by providing secure storage facilities so that essential items like IDs and tents are not confiscated or destroyed. Number 8, transparency and oversight are vital. Submit quarterly reports on enforcement actions and outcomes like housing placements. Number 9, review the ordinance annually to assess its effectiveness, allow for feedback, and make adjustments. And number 10, before enforcement, there must be adequate shelters, bathrooms, and outreach expansions on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis. Above all, please hear this. There is literally nowhere else for people who don't have shelter to go right now. Our shelter beds are full, and the establishment of Greenville Together has just gotten started. We will continue working together, and we thank you for what you're doing to serve every Greenville resident.
All right. Fine, please. And thank you for this. Appreciate it.
Good evening. May it please the council. My name is George Campbell. I have lived and worked in downtown Greenville for the last 17 years. I own a business at 110 Edgeworth Street. I appreciate you allowing the opportunity for me to speak with you today. And I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance. And contrary to the many generalizations that we've heard before, I'm here to tell you my own story as a Greenville native, a student at Furman University, a prosecutor for 5 years, the former chairman of the Greenville Transit Authority, an entrepreneur, a father, and a husband. I am afraid right now that 40 years of progress in making Greenville safe and clean for all is hanging precariously in the balance. Just recently, last fall, as I emailed many of you, we were forced to move our business out of downtown Greenville. What's happening in our city is heartbreaking, and it's a public safety crisis that we must all work together, including with all the partners and stakeholders who have come to speak to you tonight. But it's not the time for pausing or inaction. This crisis has forced people like me and other business owners to leave downtown, the very basis of the tax revenue that supports these initiatives, to care for the most vulnerable. Not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice but to protect our employees. We've watched graffiti desecrate our buildings, trash and needles litter the streets, alleyways become sites of unspeakable acts that I will not repeat here, people urinating and defecating openly on the sides of our buildings and in front, creating biohazards that seep into our soils and streams with trash and chemicals. Our customers have been harassed, and my most vulnerable employees, young women in their early 20s, have been repeatedly chased through the parking garages right here on Lawrence Street and Richardson Street garages. It's a tragedy, and we have to wonder how much longer will we allow it to go on. We even fear to bring our children downtown for dinner at night because of the incidents we have suffered that I have directly experienced, nearly getting into physical altercations with people who have attacked my children. A municipal government has only two fundamental responsibilities: safety and sanitation, not just for white people in rich neighborhoods, not just for homeless, but for everyone who is within the jurisdictional bounds of that city. Open camps are unsafe, not only for the residents, but for those who have worked in homelessness know, most especially for the homeless, because they are the most vulnerable. Environmental hazards abound, chemicals leak into the Reedy, and I will close with telling you this. This is not about an aesthetic issue, it's a public safety crisis. And the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. We cannot be indifferent, we must act. Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, is Kevin Mahaley, is he here? Oh, okay, Kevin, okay.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Mahaley. I live in the East Park Historic Association in downtown Greenville. More than anything, I'm looking for clarity on the writing and construction of the proposed ordinance. With the city's recent comprehensive initiative of Greenville Together being announced as the primary coordinator to help combat the complex issue of homelessness, I am hopeful that the Greenville Together backbone agencies and team were directly involved with drafting of the specific language of the proposed ordinance. I am concerned that that may not be the case. I've gotten more clarity on that tonight, hearing from the not-for-profit leaders. But within the ordinance that's written, there are specific references to prior city initiatives, including the 2016 study and formation of the Greenville Housing Fund, the homeless court established in 2024, and the funding of a downtown ambassador program. I realize that some of these programs have had mixed results, but I personally, and I think many citizens of Greenville, were ecstatic to learn over the past few months about the formation of Greenville Together. And Greenville Together's proven techniques to help resolve some of the difficult issues at hand. I found no mention of Greenville Together in the ordinance documents. Without their involvement, I think there could be added disruption for them to do their work efficiently. If the backbone agencies and specific leadership of Greenville Together were not involved with drafting the specific language of the proposed ordinance, I would not be in support. I'm hopeful that the City Council will be able to look clearly will help me bring clarity and provide specifics regarding my concern. And just in closing, again, definitely just astonished to have learned more from a couple of the speakers of these agencies tonight than I learned from the documents from within the city that were made known to me, late last night. So I look forward to more clarity, transparency to help solve this very important issue. Thank you.
Okay, the next group would be Storm Bruner, Anna Cass, Tita Belgia, and Renee Shaw. Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Storm Bruner. I live in the city of Greenville and have worked in public lands management for the past 5 years in both federal and state levels. I am here to voice my opposition for 15E. Let me be clear. I understand the concerns that have led to this proposal, but this ordinance as written will disproportionately harm the unhoused members of our community, people who are already struggling and vulnerable. First, this ordinance effectively criminalizes poverty. It doesn't offer a solution. It just pushes people out of sight and out of mind. Many shelters, while well-intentioned, are not free. They often charge fees and impose strict rules that not everyone can meet. If someone can't pay or doesn't meet the requirements, they may be fined, and when they can't pay those fines, they face arrest and incarceration. This is how people fall into a cycle of poverty and punishment. Second, from my own experience working in public lands for the past 5 years, I've encountered people living on public land. I've talked to them, I've listened to them, I've worked with them, and I can say with confidence that this situation has never warranted this kind of sweeping crackdown this ordinance proposes. We should not treat this as a humanitarian issue and not as a law enforcement problem. Finally, this ordinance does nothing to solve the homelessness. It doesn't house anyone. It doesn't provide services. It doesn't reduce suffering. It increases it. And if we're serious about addressing homelessness, we need to continue supporting and expanding on the policies that y'all have already been working on here as a council. We know that y'all can do good work here. That includes things like the affordable housing initiatives that y'all have been doing. We need to continue doing those. Council members, I know it's hard to see people in pain in our streets, but hiding the problem doesn't fix it. I urge you to reconsider this ordinance and take a more humane and effective approach. Please do not pass 15E. We must do better.
Ms. Cass, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor White and council members. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to talk with you today about why I oppose the proposed ordinance. My name is Renee Shaw, and I am privileged to serve on the Greenville Together and Mercy Center Housing Surge team. My teammates are out here in the audience. Raise your hands and say hi. I have a question for you. Will you please let us do our amazing work? Please. Will you trust us? I have lived experience with homelessness, and what I can tell you is that it's difficult to keep up with important documents like your birth certificate and your ID, especially if you're arrested or forced to move from place to place to place to place. When you lose these important documents, it's difficult to replace them. What I've learned as a member of the Housing Surge is that you need an ID to rent an apartment. So not having an ID is a barrier to housing. Arrests are barriers also, right? Our goal is to reduce barriers and to move people into housing. We need your help. So what we are asking you to do is to work with us in our community to home our homeless, not create barriers. We all share the same goals of reducing the number of homeless people downtown and within our community. However, the housing surge will provide a permanent and supportive solution by moving individuals and families into housing. So I have another question for you. Can Greenville work together? Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Anna Cass, and I live in the downtown area of Greenville. I am speaking in opposition to the anti-camping ordinance 15E as currently written, and I'm speaking as a 25-year resident of Greenville and a public health professional. In public health, we place a lot of emphasis on prevention, on addressing what we call upstream factors. And until we can confidently say that we've done all that we can to address the upstream factors of homelessness, things like sufficient mental health services, substance use support, livable wages, and adequate affordable housing options, I think it's wrong to punish people who end up in a rough place downstream. In particular, when we don't have sufficient housing options for everyone who lives here, it seems unethical to fine and arrest people for experiencing the consequences of this shortage. The ordinance states that using public spaces for living accommodations can constitute a public health and safety hazard for individuals living in such a camp. I agree with this. No one thinks sleeping outside on park benches or under bridges is ideal, but the solution isn't to punish people for it. Placing fines on or arresting unhoused individuals only adds to their burden, adding more barriers to becoming housed, not moving them closer to this goal. And frankly, it adds to the burden of the criminal justice system as well. The ordinance recognizes that both the causes of homelessness and the appropriate public policy responses are varied and complex. Criminalizing homelessness ignores these complexities. Instead, we need to continue investing in understanding and addressing both the individual and systemic factors that create this crisis. I urge you to vote against this ordinance or give it more time for consideration and revision, and instead, or in the meanwhile, prioritize supporting the work being done by Greenville Together and other organizations represented here tonight to address the root causes of homelessness and alternative solutions. Let's support measures that help people be successful, whether having access to public bathrooms, storage of their belongings, more shelter beds, or other creative housing options. These can help keep our public spaces clean and safe while also supporting our most vulnerable residents. Thank you for the time, for your thoughtful approaches to the issues facing our city and our residents, and thank you for allowing us to speak our voices tonight.
Tina? Oh, you're next.
Hey there, Tina Belgi, Cottage Knoll Circle. Mayor and council, as always, thank you for your public service. I know it's not an easy job, yet here I am running for it. It's a job you find yourself facing large, complex, systemic problems like this one. This is exactly why the city has invested in such an effort, Greenville Together. It's been a year in the making, a plan launched just 3 months ago, bringing together business, homeless service providers, philanthropic partners to collaborate on solving homelessness in our community, and a cost of $250,000. I personally find it would be fiscally irresponsible not to carry it through. This plan aims to do many things, but one is to place 80 people facing chronic homelessness in homes by the end of this year. Enacting this ordinance, while we still have a clog in our shelter system, will only make meeting this goal harder. Ordinances like these are proven to put those homeless and working out of work due to criminal record, not to mention any future chance of getting a job or housing. It's also 3 times more costly than housing them to begin with, again, fiscally irresponsible, and puts added pressure on our police officers who are already having to take on social work in addition to their regular duties. Also, the way it's written, my 3-year-old could be napping and be in violation. So there's that. This is major government overreach and sounds like some kind of nanny state BS. Public spaces are just that, public spaces, and that includes everyone. Harassment, defacing property, public defecation, it is not okay. That's why those actions are against the law, not homelessness. So let's open up resources. I understand one group not monopolizing a space, but it needs to be equitable. I see other groups camp out on benches, distributing pamphlets, but they're not being asked to move on. It needs to be equitable or we risk litigation. Efforts would be better off elsewhere unclogging our system through housing first and permanent supportive housing. Every day, there are folks who leave shelters and go to work. Housing those folks needs to be first priority. We need to unclog our system, not criminalize the poor, many who are there to begin with due to a lack of affordable housing. So I'm asking Mayor and Council to research this ordinance further to understand that it will hurt your goal of meeting functional zero homelessness. Instead, we need to follow through on the plan this council has funded and give it a fighting chance for our citizens, our businesses, our neighbors, and larger community, and for decency's sake. You know, I asked my 6-year-old what she thought about this. She asked, where are they supposed to go? Why would they go to jail? They didn't do anything wrong. We need to be compassionate and strong leaders, not just because it's the most effective thing to do, which it is, but because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Next, we have Bob Lloyd, Laura Stevens, and Hannah McSherry. Oh.
Been a long time, Mayor.
I was going to say, it's been a long time, Bob. That's right. You used to be a regular.
I guess about now, you're probably thanking the fact that you have procedures that allow for 2 readings of an ordinance, and that the space between those readings is not defined by a maximum. My name's Bob Lloyd. I have lived at my home in 14 Pinckney Street since 1977. So been around a while. I've had 3 terms as president of the Hampton Pinckney Neighborhood Association, although I'm not speaking for them at this point. What I am suggesting is that this ordinance has a number of things in it that are that inform a better policy about homelessness. But I understand that there's been considerable research about what other jurisdictions, primarily in the Southeast, are doing about similar types of problems. I'd like to urge, and it's clear that there are people who want to work on this, that a much wider net be cast, particularly to places which have a lot in common with Greenville, but who are located someplace else and may have different state laws and local laws to contend with. But I think that, you know, going and looking at places like Portland, Maine, and Saratoga Springs, New York, and Taos, New Mexico, and so on, might not be a bad idea. Another thing that I'd like to suggest is that the process by which, if assuming you enact an ordinance, I've heard a couple of speakers talk about a subsequent review, perhaps as long as a year. You've been engaged with your development code for 2 years in 6-month reviews. That's a fairly complex document, and I would submit to you that some of what is involved in dealing with homelessness policy is also pretty darn complex. And so I would suggest that whatever you pass, at whatever point you do pass it, that within 6 months thereafter, you take a close look at what's gone on and how things can be improved, recognizing that policymaking in this area isn't a destination, it's a process.
Stevens, I'm born and raised here in the city of but I work in the city, and I have for many, many years, in the lane for which we're talking about, very specifically under the bridges, in the woods, down the trails where not many of us have been, but I certainly have. I've worked directly with those experiencing homelessness, actively fleeing domestic violence, and living in the deepest poverty this great city has to offer. To be clear, I'm in opposition to the proposed ordinance as it currently reads. These people, who unfortunately we happily refer to in sweeping generalizations as the problem, they're suffering, they're dying, and we seem to be okay with that, except when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. Those in poverty have always faced an uphill battle to remain stably housed. But these days, it's immeasurably more difficult than ever to be housed again once you've been homeless. The places where these folks once lived, which truthfully were all the places none of us went, these places, they worked because they kept our hardest part, Greenville's little secret, completely invisible. Prior to 2020, Unity Park's purpose was as a cover, seemingly hiding in plain sight, dozens of encampments. I went to them. I know that they are there. This was, at the time, referred to as the unseen Greenville. Our neighbors on Main Street were not moved to complain about it then, but now we see it. Green Avenue, Sterling, Haney Serene, Southern Side. I graduated from Greenville High School. Once had affordable housing where you could start over or have a chance at a home. Those communities have been permanently changed by gentrification, which here in Greenville seems to be a thirst we cannot quench. I'm grateful that the city recognizes its homelessness epidemic and has begun to take steps to address our housing shortage and has provided some support to Greenville Together. The housing that is being built and deemed affordable is not for these folks. Let me be clear. Greenville Together has been in operation for less than a year, and you would like the problem to have already been solved. How? While my deepest desire is to wake up tomorrow with my children in a community without suffering people, I know I will not. We waited patiently for parks, bridges, neighborhoods, and high rises to be fixed, built, or imagined. There seemed to be plenty of time for that. But we have left a lot of people behind, and it seems unfair to punish them for the adverse outcomes that we played a leading role in creating. This work has always been hard, but the city's own success and the resources you've poured into making it pretty have made it so much harder for people in poverty to stop being your problem. And it's exponentially harder for the individuals and organizations doing the best they can to change Greenville's tomorrow.
Okay.
The proposed ordinance does not help anyone. I ask you to work closely with the folks in this room, begging for you to listen. Build a bigger table and table this one. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hannah McSherry. I am actually a lifelong resident here of Greenville County. It's not many of us, but there are a few. I'm here today to oppose any ordinance that furthers the attack on people who are experiencing homelessness. Based on the Greenville City Council's website, we read that the city is committed to balanced growth, inclusion, engaged citizen, and an excellent quality of life. I call for you to reflect on this commitment tonight and ask that we remain focused on this council's priorities as we do this work. It's my understanding that Councilman DeWorkin has suggested that we further target a large and growing group of citizens. This doesn't feel like inclusion to me. Why are we targeting those who are experiencing homelessness? Why is incarceration the answer to this problem? We are seeing more people reduced to living in their cars or outside due to the continued gentrification of this city. We have lost our focus on how we can create a sense of community and sustainment for those who don't have the privilege like we do. I took a shower before I got here. I picked out which shoes I wanted to wear. I jumped in my car with a snack and came here. That is privilege. Most of you are in the same situation as me. We have privilege, and it is important, actually imperative, that we recognize this as we seek to solve for these problems. I would have liked to have been a little bit more prepared today, but I myself was out sharing food. I'm a volunteer with an organization that's been serving people who are experiencing homelessness for the past 10 years. We share food, camping supplies, clothing, hygiene kits, and more every single Monday. The stories that I hear from the people who come to visit with us on Mondays have completely changed my life. I see the ordinance thinks that Greenville has done so much to solve for this, and I know that there has been a lot that has been done, but let me assure you, we are very far from ending or even reducing homelessness. Most people who are experiencing homelessness are suffering from mental health issues. It is evident that Greenville does not have enough rehab beds, enough shelters, enough affordable housing, enough access to health care, enough access to mental health care. The last thing that we need to do is incarcerate more people because of their illness. Oh, we're worried that we might lose our spot in the top 10 fastest growing cities in the U.S. Oh, we're so worried that our people who are experiencing homelessness might choose Unity Park to sit in the fountain and cool off. We're so worried about someone like Miss Gail. Today, I found her lying on a sidewalk behind a buggy that held all of her belongings in a buggy on a blanket, sound asleep. All the busyness of Cherrydale area zooming all around her. I figured she was just sleeping, but I had to stop to make sure she wasn't dead. I approached her, I asked her, what do you need? And she explained she had to lay down for a moment just to get over the hunger, and supposedly she fell asleep. Is she someone that you would arrest? The answer is yes, because once you pass an ordinance that empowers the city or the county police to incarcerate someone, they will waste no time. Another one of my pals was recently incarcerated. Thank you for your time.
Did good, yeah. Okay, Neil Inman, Alex Thompson. Which one? Well, if he's Batman, are you Superman? Are you?
I thought we had Spider-Man somewhere.
Yeah, Spider-Man, okay.
Anyway, thank you, Mayor, Council, for hearing me today. My name is Neil Inman, and I'm an LEC councilman for Greenville Together. I'm in opposition of this proposed ordinance. I was previously homeless and have been in stable housing for over 4 years now. I still work with those experiencing homelessness. I am friends with many and help guide them to resources daily. And I'm talking every day that I'm not working for Greenville Together. I'm out taking care of these people that I was not taken care of. I'm one of those who you can't take care of because there's no resources for me or my wife, because we're a couple and we cannot be separated because I have brain damage and I'm not allowed to be left alone. Period. It's not easy living in my shoes this way. I have seen firsthand how hard it is to go through the system, literally go through the system. It is not an easy task, period. Too much red tape. It took me almost a year to find housing after I received my EHV, and I am very proud to be one of the owners of those EHVs that Greenville County had accepted. And thank you for that very much. I get a disability. I don't have any evictions. I have no criminal activity going on whatsoever. I've been clean for a very long time now from drugs and alcohol. I see firsthand how hard it is for folks to get into shelter and housing. I know this firsthand. Before an ordinance can even be thought of, we need more shelter beds with no or less barriers. We need our community to give those experiencing homelessness access to 24-hour restrooms, which I needed desperately when I was on the street. And reliable places to store their belongings, because I had to keep all my stuff in my car. I had no place, and I was vulnerable to being robbed every night that I was on the street. I also had to carry a gun because of this. I have been attempted robbed several times, and I had to use my gun to keep these people off of me because I am so disabled. I cannot fend for myself anymore. My car was my haven, my biggest reason I survived being homeless this last time. I had a shelter, a way to go to the bathroom. Most of my friends don't have that at all, period. That is a luxury that we all have, that we take a great advantage of. Imagine what it would be like for your automobile to be taken from you. Just think about what that would do to your life, just your automobile. You can keep your driver's license, but your automobile gets taken. It's very hard.
Your time is up. But
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Right, well, Hey, Batman.
Hi there. I'm the Downtown Batman, a real-life superhero operating here in Greenville since 2021. My goal is to help those that need it, those that cannot help themselves, and to inspire others to do the same. 4 years ago, I began by helping the homeless, giving food, water, and clothes to those that needed them. Operating in this way for 3 years, I came to know my community better, and they came to know me. In 2025, I decided to become more publicly visible by attending activism events, spreading awareness of community events, protests, and rallies. I have dedicated my life to bettering my community, and I'd like to speak to you directly about agenda item 15E, which would ban public camping. I don't want to repeat a lot of the things that have already been said, so I'd like to tell things personally how I've experienced them. In my second year of patrolling Greenville, I came to know a woman named Angela, who was old enough to be my grandmother. She's a sweet old lady, a human being like you and me, who always delighted in seeing me and I in her. Angela does not have a home and has tried using the various services that Greenville has to obtain housing, consistently being denied. So with nowhere else to go, she sat outside of this very building most nights, where she slept through the cold winter and hot summers here in South Carolina. This woman, over 80 years old, with nowhere to safely rest, came to your doorstep, and you would have her penalized for your services and systems failing her. I'd like you to imagine your grandmother. I'm sure you have one. We all do. On our streets. Would you want her to live each day fearful of punishment from a system that isn't working? I implore you, give Greenville Together more time to do their job. On Greenville's own website, the first sentences on the page for homeless services read, "Homelessness is not a crime. It is a community concern. There are vulnerable citizens in Greenville who need help." As our country falls into fascism, as we see happening in LA right now, will you, Greenville, rise to the occasion and fight for our freedom, or will you try to take them away? Thank you.
And Jack Logan, are you here tonight? Jack, yeah, you've got a little different item here.
Never stated.
Very important item, though.
My name is Jack Logan. I live at 5051 Old Augusta Road in Greenville, South Carolina. Back in 2011, I do believe Terry Wilfong was our chief of police in the city of Greenville, and the city council implemented the teen curfew. Our nonprofit, worked hand in hand with her for 7 years, followed by Chief Ken Miller when he became the chief, and it worked excellent. Teens not being violated was significantly dropped. Out at Hayward Mall, that's not in the jurisdiction of the city police. The mall have their own security, but the presence of law enforcement deter crime. To this council, I asked you a couple of weeks ago, I do believe, the teen curfew should be in the entire city. Because what happened when those teens stop going to the mall, they'll start going someplace else in the city. Another problem, listen to some of these people. I get up at sometimes 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, go running on Woodruff Road and Unity Park. On Woodruff Road, we have 2 different types of criminal activity, maybe homeless people. The McDonald's right there where the theater's at, people are all over the road on Woodruff Road. That leads up to Rogers Slope. There's times I followed those people. Then over by Unity Park, the southern side, there's something have to be done. Because even when I run down Woodruff to Five Forks, and which is in the county, or either if I go the other way to Congaree, or if I park my car at the Starbucks on Pete Hollis Boulevard, sometimes it is frightening. And our public service, public works, they do a good job in downtown Greenville because there need to be some place for people to use the bathroom. Because, and I have to give them that credit. But again, some of those people being homeless, I assume can drive you, will make me call the police because of their actions, me in fear that they may get hit by motorists for being all over the road. And sometimes I get upset with no presence of law enforcement in those areas. And there should be, because Woodruff Road's a busy road. Academy is a busy road, and sometimes those people be all over the road. And I just ask that this council support, and I listen to the people, and I ask y'all to take whatever vote y'all take very serious. And I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, can we have the consent agenda first, and we'll get to the regular agenda, and I'll see if we can just move that item up, by the way, because I know we have some council discussion from Mr. DeWorke and some others, but we have the consent agenda. Motion second.
Second.
Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember DeWorke.
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington.
Aye.
Councilmember Stahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Dow.
Aye.
Mayor White.
Aye. The regular agenda, since all y'all are good enough to be here with these very, very thoughtful comments that were made today about this, if there's no objection from city council, I'll take up item, what is that, 15E?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
An ordinance,
And I'll let everybody have a chance to speak. Okay.
15E for a first reading, ordinance to prohibit improper use of city property and facilities and public camping.
So moved.
Motion second.
I'll second the item to move it to council discussion.
Okay. Mr. Workin, you said.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm John DeWorkin, and I assure you that I hear you, and I assure you we hear you. I want to say a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Megan Barp and all the homeless service providers for providing me the time and to have a really thoughtful conversation. I want to thank Pastor Dogan and Carl Soposinski. I see you here also for your leadership in Greenville Together. Let me just first say this is a deeply personal issue for me. And for those of you who don't know me, bear with me for a moment. I will tell you first that it is not lost on me that we are dealing with human beings. We are dealing with God's children. We are trying to address the most vulnerable people of our population, and that is not lost on me. People who deserve and desire a safe place to call home. Now, I'm not one, Mr. Mayor, anyone who knows me who will cite a Bible verse, but I have to, because when I embarked on this a number of years ago, something really, I did my little Bible study, and boy, this popped up, and I'd like to just share that with you. And it was a proverb from Matthew 25. It says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. When I needed clothes, you clothed me." And then they answered, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you needing clothes and clothe you?" And his reply said, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And that hangs on me as I try to address an issue. And so for those who don't know me, I'm going to share, and some of you have heard this, but this is a deeply personal issue for me. My father, who was dirt poor, as he would say, as a child, lived in a tent for 2 years in Jacksonville, Florida, through the very damp winters and mosquito-filled summers. A man who could not eat a lima bean because all winter, all he had to eat when he was a child one winter was lima beans, and he'd still get nauseous as a 60-year-old man. A man who, when I was an adolescent and probably just an annoying adolescent like everybody else, I'd walk in and say, "Dad, what's for dinner?" And he would look at me as if he could spit nails at me, and he'd say, "Food." And what he was really saying to me is, you should be damn lucky that you got a roof over your head and food on the table. And so I grew up with a dad through his eyes, really learning and better understanding. And just he ended up being a county superintendent of school, of a vocational high school, and he could have done many things, but he did that because he wanted to give children who are from broken homes and long since forgotten a fighting chance by giving them the skills for life after college. That's the dad I grew up with. So that's me. That's me. 4 years ago, I went to San Diego, and I'm sure so many people have been to cities like this. We took the family. We did all the things you're supposed to do in San Diego, the zoo and USS Midway and SeaWorld, and we stayed in La Jolla. My gosh, how lucky am I, right? I get to stay in La Jolla. But the last 2 nights we went to downtown San Diego because I heard it was a beautiful city. And I don't speak in hyperbole, but I will say that that downtown is ruined. It is ruined. It is ruined with hundreds and thousands of tents, defecation, garbage. And San Diego's not alone. There are a lot of cities like it where all that work to build a city has suffered this awful and fate for the people experiencing it and for the people who built it. So I felt that I was in a unique position, having the father that I did and experiencing a city that no one would want to have that kind of crisis. So I said, you know what, let's go on a journey to see if we can, I don't know how else to say it, but how can we say to individuals who are with a sleeping bag, lying on the sidewalk or in a plaza or many times in the rights of way over on Stone Avenue, how we can address these individuals kindly, compassionately, and say, hey, you can't be here. So going from a city where saying, not safe for you, you can't be here, but how do we enforce it? Enforce it. I will say that, and we'll get to that, but we're not immune here in Greenville. I know that our staff spends so many hours cleaning up syringes and needles and defecation and neighbors doing the same. And I get phone calls about this. So how do I take the experience of my young life and then also wanting a city where we are investing and we are committing to Greenville together?
Greenville together.
And hold on.
Mr. Mayor.
I listened to everyone who spoke, and I'm grateful for the speakers because it provides so much quality of what we're doing. So what I embarked on this journey is how do we get ahead of this so that we don't end up with a crisis like some of our cities we see in California. I started this journey 4 years ago with this conversation. And 4 years ago, I was asked by providers and stakeholders, hey, John, listen, before we go down the path that you're wanting to explore, let's get some more money toward affordable housing. And I thought, you know what, that's super fair. So I did, and I said, okay. And then a couple years ago, I said, well, let's start the conversation again. And I got told, listen, let's wait for homeless court to get online. I thought that was fair, so I did. And we got ambassadors in place. And then this fall, I said, well, let's start having the conversation again. Someone says, wait till Greenville together gets moving. So I did. So I embarked on this journey of how we can address people, human beings, that are in the most vulnerable state in a kind, compassionate way, but how can we address people who are on the sidewalk in the rights way? in the plazas. And so I reached out to our service providers. I'm so grateful for their input, and their input in something we could do, from United Way to Greenville Together and Train Mercy, that are all here, and just very grateful for that. So embarking on an ordinance that doesn't sweep, doesn't target, but an ordinance that tries to get at an issue of people who are setting up living accommodations in a public right of way. How do we get at that? And I'm confident we can get there. And I know many here who've said, and I've heard Councilman Gibson as well, and rightfully say, you know, we don't want to put anyone in jail. We don't want to criminalize this. I agree. I don't want to put anyone in jail. I don't want to criminalize this, for sure. What I need help with, and I think this council needs help with, is how do we go from where we are now, where we as a city don't have any authority to be able to say to someone, hey, you can't be here, but let me try to get you to a provider. How do we go from that? And then the other end, which you see in the ordinance, but the other end is incarceration and confinement, which, you know, certainly we don't want, but how can we truly do an intervention? How do we truly do an intervention? So I just know that I'm committed, working with the homeless providers, with my colleagues, with partners, because I want to get it right. You all want to get it right. I want to get it right. And getting it right sometimes takes time. I'm committed to continue working with our providers and making this community the best it can be, and avoiding the fate of some of the other cities that we've seen, right? But also doing it with kindness and compassion, but also providing a pathway for these most vulnerable people. So, Mr. Mayor, at a time appropriate, I know other council members want to speak, but at a time appropriate, I would like to make the motion to postpone anything we would do until August 11th, so that we can cast a wider net to gain more input and more people and more stakeholders and participants to participate, so that if we do anything, that we do it with compassion and kindness.
I second that motion.
Okay. Well said. If that's the motion, we're going to go ahead, and council wish to say anything else about that motion or anything else?
Just very quickly from
And I do
your,
have some questions. If we're going
Okay.
to have discussion.
Okay, if council would like to ask some more questions, I think we had that motion, which I'm
Can I-
prepared to
Mr. Mayor, could we just
entertain
get,
very quickly if we need to.
is there a motion on the
Yeah.
motion? Has it been
Yeah.
made
We
yet?
had a motion.
Well, I said when the time is appropriate.
So there's
I
no,
thought you made a motion.
Oh,
No, you didn't.
well, I don't know.
You made a motion.
I
and
made a
seconded.
motion.
Well, she seconded, Jay, even if you weren't, you did say that, that's correct, but she seconded.
So we've got to
But-
vote on that motion.
Can I take that as a motion, and we,
Could the motion be repeated just to make sure that the public is following?
The motion that I would make is to postpone this ordinance so that we all can participate and get this right to the August 11th meeting.
And I second that motion.
Second.
okay. And then, so now there's a secondary motion for the motion to postpone, which is what you can discuss and deliberate on at this point.
which I'd rather take as a table, though.
Table under Robert's rules just continues it throughout this meeting until it could be picked back up before the end of the meeting, but to postpone definitely
But with specificity, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, can I do it that way then?
the motion is to postpone
Okay, all right.
to a
I
date
just want to
certain.
make sure we have council members who are able to.
Okay, all right.
and we can continue discussion, correct?
I'll take that. Okay,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to create confusion.
motion
Is
is
there-
second to postpone.
That is, I understand that that's the motion on the table, and that's the motion that's appropriate for discussion is the motion,
Right.
motion to postpone.
Screw that.
Definitely. If you want to withdraw it so that there can be more discussion, then that would be, we could do that too.
We're good.
Withdraw it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have some questions that I can ask under the postponement. It's,
I want to make sure everybody has ample time to.
I think we'd like
I'm going to be brief.
to hear more about your process as well, but okay, you be brief.
Yeah, given his motion.
Dorothy's got some questions to ask.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think mine's about process, but I can ask.
Go ahead.
I think so you can weigh in with the city attorney. I have questions regarding the information that was presented on this item. May I ask those?
Of who are the questions?
Of staff?
I think that based on the motion that's on the floor, the discussion is regarding the motion to postpone. That's right.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Just withdraw.
I'm presiding and I think that would be true.
So do I withdraw the motion?
Okay, withdraw your motion.
Okay.
If you want to have a
Yes.
more open discussion,
Yes, sir.
questions and answers, we'll do that. And Kim, we'll come right back to you and do that question.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say, I'm giving the motion. I fully support that. I just want to thank all you guys for showing up. A lot of times, we think that our voices may not be heard, but I assure you, your voices were heard on this issue. And that is why we are seeing the motion that we're seeing. I would ask you to stay vigilant on this, keep track of where we move, and if necessary, please show up again and let your voices be heard again in the future.
No, thank you.
Can I ask my questions?
Sure. ma'am.
Staff?
Yeah,
Okay.
you may.
And I would ask this of John, but with all due respect, John, I think staff's more able to answer some of the
I'm
questions. we're
certainly
gonna ask.
more able.
I don't know about that being certain. Multiple times while on council, I've asked and been reassured, and I want to have that ask and reassurance again tonight. I previously prior to being on council, I served and chaired the Public Safety Citizens Review Board. And one of the items I became aware of just in that service was the issue of crisis intervention training, what it means. And I would ask of our city manager, and if you want to defer to Chief Thompson, I certainly respect that. I want to verify, because I've always been given the statement that all of GPD officers are provided crisis intervention training because we fully recognize that they are the first line of our city intervention many times with people experiencing mental illness. And that is something that has been put in place since this council, or prioritized since this council came on board. So my question, Chief, what is our policy on crisis intervention training requirements for our GPD officers?
So the crisis intervention training that I think you're talking about is the one put on by NAMI. And that's the one, it's a week-long course, and most of our department has been through that except for just some of our newest officers. It's a week-long course, 40 hours, and it helps them recognize when somebody is in distress, especially mental distress, and they need help. It also teaches the officers how to connect them with providers and to get them the help that they need. So right now we have 191 officers that have completed the training, which, as you know, that's most of our department. We're sitting at about 215, 216 officers. And so, of course, those new officers that have not been are in regular training. But we also do a number of other trainings, and everything we do always contains the same type of training that NAMI gives us for CIT. It's about de-escalating, recognizing someone in a trauma situation that needs help. And I think our officers do an outstanding job of recognizing that. I appreciate our providers. We work with a number of providers, all of them in the city, and they're great to assist us when we contact them and can get the people to the help they need.
Well, thank you for making that a priority. I've asked about it a lot on this council. Y'all know that. And I just wanted to re-verify because I think it's really important to know the amount that we put into our GPD to ensure they have tools available to them. And this council has fully funded them all along the way on that. Thank you, Chief. Madam City Manager, well, this wouldn't be you. This might be Madam City Attorney, sorry. I know when we were looking at crafting this ordinance, as we always do, in my recollection, we do look at what are cities like ours doing. And usually what I mean by cities like ours, we're typically looking at it from a size standpoint. You know, we're not Atlanta, we're not Charlotte, we're not New York City. Nonetheless, I asked the attorney's office to take a look at other cities and their policies, either in existence, being contemplated or declined, to understand what was going on across, obviously in the Southeast region, but I left it to y'all to come up with those cities. So if you could reiterate for me briefly what that effort was and what was provided to council.
Sure. And what our office looked at in response to that inquiry was, we looked at other South Carolina cities to see what.
Could you name them, please?
What was in place? Sure. So currently that we were able to confirm by actually either contact with the clerk's office or putting as in Muni Code or some other codification program that had actually been enacted. That Camden, South Carolina has an ordinance that prohibits camping that obstructs ingress and egress of buildings specifically, a little bit more narrow. And Columbia has a public camping prohibition that's very similar to the one that's on your agenda. They do require an oral warning before anyone could be arrested under their ordinance. And then Rock Hill also has a public camping prohibition. And theirs, however, was enacted prior to the recent Supreme Court case out of Grants Pass, Oregon, in which the Supreme Court said that it was not practical and not required for cities to be able to show that there were shelter beds available before they could enforce an ordinance. However, Rock Hill's ordinance does have that requirement because they put it in place prior. That was the state of the law at the time that they enacted their ordinance. You can go and do some Google searches and you can read articles that reference other cities that have camping ordinances, but those are not always reliable. I will say that there were some articles that said that Charleston has a camping ban. They do not. They prohibit camping in cars, but they do not have a public camping ordinance.
In the interest of time.
Sure.
Because I don't want to take more time from other council members on this, but in a synopsis, the list that you provided me included Atlanta, Macon, Charlotte, Raleigh, Winston-Salem, in addition to the ones that you listed. Myrtle Beach, Spartanburg, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Austin, Texas, Asheville, and Durham, North Carolina.
Spartanburg does not have a public camping ordinance.
But we looked at them.
They have a homeless court.
Right, they have a homeless court. At one which we visited, I think y'all's teams visited at least once. Certainly.
Several times.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for that effort. I know that represented a lot on the part of the city attorneys, and thank you for the summary that you provided. My last question. I do want to give an opportunity, because I see you every morning, and Madam City Manager, I think this is most directed for Public Works, maybe Parks and Rec. 3 mornings a week, I'm on Main Street. Y'all hear my complaints all the time as a result of those runs. Not tied to homelessness, tied to signs being down or a brick out of place or a sidewalk being uneven. Thank you for responding to my tri-weekly runs and reports. But I do see staff working. I want to understand the impact on staff and what our challenges have been in both PW and PRT. And respectfully, Madam City Manager, you're welcome to field this, but I figure y'all are on the front lines, and I want to understand what your daily routines include to address situations that have come to us as concerns from our constituents and stakeholders.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, City officials. Public Works, it's an interesting job in the morning. We have quite a few things that we have to deal with, and we've been able to utilize our staff in different ways. So it's been challenging, but we get it done. We've had a number of people resign due to the fact of what they have to clean up. And so it's kind of concerning. For me, it's more concerning about their safety more than anything. What they have to deal with, and some of the things they have to deal with. So it's a challenge.
Can you speak to the safety issue? You said safety. What does that mean?
Well, we have to have a buddy system a lot of times. We have to put two people together because when you get with someone and they don't respect you, you don't carry a badge or a gun, they kind of get belligerent sometimes. So we have some that listen and are pretty good about it, but the transients especially are very challenging, and it's in the garages, it's all around. So some of them are challenging and it's a problem, and some of the stuff we have to clean up.
Well, thank you for your
It's not
service to
good.
the city.
It's not good.
Will, do you want to add anything?
So yeah, apologize.
And I would say, Dave, your position is, your job title is
Public Works Director.
Public Works Director, and Will Young, your title is? just
Interim
'cause the
Director,
people-
Parks
Parks and Rec Director.
Yep.
Thank you.
I would say something similar. Our park staff, especially downtown and Falls Park, spends the first hour of the day usually cleaning up certain plazas and certain areas of the park. Unity is also seeing a growth, especially around Lala May. We estimate around 15 to 20 hours a week on cleanup around these certain areas, mostly Unity, Falls, and downtown.
A daily occurrence, a weekly occurrence?
Daily, for those three teams. The Parks North, Cleveland Park does not see it as much, but those three teams see it a lot more.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate you.
And I will add that it's been a really good relationship with.
I have a few
RC
questions now.
And with,
So-
and GPD. You know, we all
I'm
work
sorry, I didn't
together.
hear it.
Yeah.
What did you
GPD,
say that again?
GPD, PRT, and PW all work very closely together all the time, including our parking staff.
Thank you.
Lillian.
Thank you. I do appreciate everyone coming, et cetera, and I appreciate the staff. Having served on council longer than anyone else, and being the daughter of Lila Mae Brock, who is the stature where everybody circulates around, et cetera, I very seldom call about it because those are the people she actually died about. She never wanted them to ever be mistreated. And let me just say, our police officers were fantastic. They knew the names of everybody. And they said, now, you know, you don't need to be here, et cetera. And they had a relationship. I understand what all of you are saying, and I understand what council is saying. But the key is we will never work anything out, because this is not the first time we have tried to do this. It's not the second or the third. But now that we have Greenville together and we're trying to move forward, we need to work together. We need to continue. Don't just let this be the last time, because then it says you're not really serious. Do what you can to help people and continue. You can come anytime you want to, because the homeless are always there, always there. Even the book of Matthew, Mark, and John said, the poor will be with you always. I've been on council for 43 years. They've been there before that, and they're going to be here after that. But if this is a time that this city and county can get together and make a difference and help somebody live in a habitable facility, it's a good time. It will be a wonderful time, because many of us have been working for years to try to get them there. And one of the things that this council was working on was trying to be sure that they made sure that we use facilities we had so that the people can get there. Our staff has done a marvelous job of keeping things together, but they haven't done a job of trying to be attacked or mistreated. But we can take this moment as a moment to move forward. Don't let this be your last time. And if council asks you, as John explained who he was and how he grew up, if someone asks you to serve, please serve. Please serve. I thank Bob Lloyd, because like he said, it's been a long time. But he felt always his responsibility was to let us know if we're going right, wrong, or in direction, and I will help you to get there. Thank all of you for coming to help us get there. Now, if you came to beat us up, too bad, because it didn't work. But if you came to help, we'll know. We'll know by how fast we get through this. We'll know how fast when we see people come and help. We'll know how great Greenville will getting together will be if you mean to what you said about helping us. And I hate to leave, but I got a husband in rehab. And I'm gonna see y'all later.
All right, I don't think so.
Real quick.
I was going to go after Councilmember Gibson if that.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
But before I do, let me just, I can forego my comments. Do we want to capture the procedure?
Do we need to vote on the postponement?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yes, we do need to vote.
I'd like to say something.
I'm willing to save my remarks to a later time to preserve the opportunity for council to vote on the amendment.
Both
have a few
Councilmember
questions.
Fleming and I have previous.
Yeah, we have two
commitments
council
for
members who have to
every
leave.
time.
So
I want to vote to postpone, to delay.
That's what's on the
postpone
table.
or what?
One of my comments about is
Go ahead.
about the postponement.
Yeah, we need,
And I'll reserve, I'd still like to make my comments, but my comment about the postponement is I'm personally not in favor of the postponement because I believe we should vote on this now and kill this thing.
okay.
So I'll make the motion that we postpone until August 11th.
It's already on the table and seconded.
It was withdrawn. It needs to be, that's right. It needs to be remade.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Do you-
No,
All right, but we're back on
Does that have
that.
to be roll call?
Okay.
Thanks,
So roll call.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to postpone this ordinance for further discussion until August the 11th.
No worries.
Councilmember DeWorke,
Aye.
Councilmember Fleming,
Mhm.
Councilmember Gibson,
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington.
Aye.
Councilmember Stahl,
no.
Councilmember Dow,
Aye.
Mayor White.
Aye. Okay. Thank you all for being here today. This is a little bit messy, but sometimes things are, and appreciate all council's work on this, but I just want to use one word, and that's in terms of y'all helping us, and we have a lot of people out here who are doing that right now. We have Greenville Together, which is doing an incredible job of quantifying how many new housing units they can find for people. We also have our homeless court, the city, but maybe more importantly, from the city of Greenville standpoint, we actually have staff. We put money toward this issue a couple of years ago, and we have real people, our police department, with some folks you heard from tonight who are actually our staff on the street dealing with these hard problems. And if there's one thing I told Councilman DeWorke about this that I'd appreciate him focusing on, I guess it's the word intervention. Our folks are out there all the time, as so many others are, doing the hard work, and it is hard work. And they're seeing it of one-on-one, person to person, having a conversation. And when you're dealing with the people who are in the worst of circumstances because they're in the encampment situation, which kind of in a pecking order, I'd say that's usually kind of the worst situation if they're actually sleeping on the sidewalk at night and in the daytime. Those are people that particularly it's difficult to have a conversation with, especially as we learned a couple of years ago when we set up the Housing Resource Center on Main Street. It was hard to have a conversation in the middle of a sidewalk. I mean, how do you do that when people are walking by, there's interference, traffic, et cetera? So we set up the Homeless Resource Center, our day center, behind the CVS a couple of years ago. And I thought it was the best thing we ever did. And I would suggest that we do it again because we were able to persuade more people to have a real engagement, have a real conversation. They could walk down the street. It was convenient. It was safe. They got there. They weren't being arrested. They had a cup of coffee. Word kind of got out. Hey, you can go there for a cup of coffee or a glass of water. And we had real successes. We had one success after another when suddenly a person who'd been sitting on a bench in front of Sticky Fingers for 2 months opened up and said, oh, by the way, I have a daughter in Simpsonville. We didn't know that. The daughter in Simpsonville had been looking for her. She was like a missing person. The daughter came up and said, oh my God, she's where? She's where? 2 months on a bench. So we had this happen over and over again. That may be the easier cases and all, but the word intervention comes to my mind. You know, if you deal with drug treatment issues, you know what I mean when a family has an intervention. We need a better tool. I don't think we're going to say it's criminality. I think you heard that from Councilman DeWorke. We're going to drop that idea. But what can we do to be a little bit of a stick, a little more direct, that people who are in that condition will come with us to the Resource Center, will talk to our social workers. That's what we're looking for. And that's what I hope we can kind of achieve. Because when we do that, we have incredible success. But first, we got to do that intervention. The alternative is what we're doing now, which is just see them there and say, see you later. We can't do that either. It's just too dangerous and not helpful to anybody involved. So I hope we can
indulge me.
focus on that.
Are you going to go first?
Are we still having comments?
Yeah, if that's okay. Can I make a comment?
I-
For full transparency, I was initially in favor of this. But my conscience will not let me go that direction. Homelessness is a challenging, complicated, and multifaceted issue, and a single ordinance is not going to solve the problem. In my study of other cities, the best solutions include providing more affordable housing, which we are trying very hard to do, offering robust supportive housing with wraparound services, and increasing outreach and case management services. Overall, camping ordinances don't provide lasting solutions to homelessness and can often create additional social, economic, and legal challenges, which I don't think Greenville is willing to bear. While providing a short-term solution to cleaner public spaces and improve public safety, the negative impacts outweigh the positive impacts. To me, the negative impacts include the criminalization of homelessness. Ordinances like this can criminalize behaviors associated with homelessness, making it more difficult for those experiencing homelessness to exit, and in a time when they are most vulnerable. Enforcement difficulties. I struggle with the fact that enforcement is going to be really difficult and may divert resources from housing and supportive services to policing, court costs, and incarceration. Ineffectiveness in solving homelessness. I really wonder if the ordinance will shift rather than solve homelessness, pushing people from place to place without addressing the underlying cause of homelessness, such as poverty, mental illness, drug abuse, and lack of affordable housing. The ordinance is likely to face legal challenges, particularly regarding civil rights violations, and will also prevent enforcement challenges. Greenville is known as one of the most compassionate cities in the United States. We get awards for that. It's in our DNA, being a compassionate city. Yet, I believe passing an ordinance like this is contrary to those values. Therefore, I believe a lot of compassionate people are going to push back, as we've seen tonight. And I wanted to recommend that we kill it tonight and move on for other issues.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you, Nat.
regular agenda item 15A.
What he said.
Batman, you're not the first person to come with a mask to city council. Years ago, we had the Phantom of the Opera make a special appearance here with the Peace Center. So I guess it's the second time. So appreciate you being here.
Ordinance
Well-
first reading, item 15A, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 97-8, providing for the issuance and sale of waterworks system revenue bonds of the city of Greenville, South Carolina, and other matters related thereto.
So moved.
Second.
So moved it.
Motion second. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember DeWorke.
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington.
Aye.
Councilmember Stahl. Mayor White.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a request? Can we either pause our business or ask for a little decorum in the chamber so we can conduct it?
You want to pause?
Be fine.
You need a break?
No, I don't mean a break. I mean,
Stand at ease for a minute. Just,
yeah,
Yeah, let people leave.
Okay, sure.
a lot of commotion.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Will do.
Thank you to the gentleman in the back. Good, thank you.
Is that? Oh, okay, just close the door. Okay. 15B.
15B, an ordinance to approve an amendment to a parking license agreement between Floor Enterprises, Inc. and the city of Greenville for a portion of the parking lot located at 204 Halton Road.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Let's verify.
Councilmember DeWorke.
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington.
Aye.
Councilmember Stahl.
Aye.
Mayor White.
Aye. 15C.
Mayor, if we could interrupt, y'all skipped 15A. Could we go back to 15A, please, for consideration?
I did
sir?
get a motion and a second, and we did do a vote, and it was a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to miss.
Sorry, we had a lot going on. Sorry.
15B was when we were asked to pause. Okay. All right.
Item 15C, an ordinance to approve deed restrictive covenants on certain Falls Park property parcels for the purpose of limiting use of the property to park purposes only and to come into compliance with restrictions mandated by the United States Department of Interior.
So
moved. Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember DeWorke.
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington. Councilmember Stahl.
Aye.
Mayor White.
Aye.
And can I just say a few words? The Carolina Foothills Garden Club is here,
I
so
was going to wait until the next one, Tara.
Or you want to do it under 15D?
if we could, they're here for the deed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 15D.
So we have members of the Carolina Foothills Garden Club that are here in the back of the room. And so I would like for them to stand and be recognized. They have been a partner, obviously, in the creation and development of the park, contributing over $12 million. And I'd also like to recognize them as they have been hugely important as we've moved forward on this deed restriction for the park.
Thank you. I'm patiently waiting for 2 hours.
Thank you all.
Okay, 15D.
An ordinance to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement to lease the Falls Cottage building located at 615 South Main Street to Falls Park Cottage LLC for a term of 60 months following the end of the construction period, with the right of the leasee to extend the lease for 2 additional 5-year terms.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. I think we've had a briefing on this before on council, but
Well, thank y'all. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have Michael Manelli with Falls Park Cottage LLC. I'd like to recognize him. He'll be taking over the lease for Falls Cottage.
And to the Garden Club, this has been a long road, y'all, and thank you for hanging in there. I'm thrilled that I have a little bit of a personal interest in this with my mother and my sister, so this is very special. So thank you for being here.
clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember DeWorke.
Aye.
Councilmember Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Brazington.
Aye.
Councilmember Stahl.
Aye.
Mayor White.
Aye. 16A, resolution.
A resolution to provide for certain certifications regarding an abandoned textile mill site located at or near 1007 Hampton Avenue, according to the South Carolina Code, Sections 12-65-10.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. We had a briefing on this before. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. 16B.
A resolution to approve an automatic and mutual aid agreement between the City of Greenville for and on behalf of the Greenville Fire Department and certain fire departments in Greenville County for certain emergency incidents within the designated areas.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Appreciate the great work the chief does. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. 16C.
A resolution to approve the execution of a lease termination agreement between the City of Greenville and the Carolina Foothills Garden Club for the Falls Cottage property located at 615 South Main Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Madam Manager, do you have a?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We have a couple of things tonight. First, just because we have an amazing staff, and I think you heard a lot about that tonight. And speaking of our great fire chief, we actually have our groundbreaking tomorrow for our Stone Avenue Fire Station. So really excited about that. We've only been working on that project about 4 years, Chief. So we are very excited about that. And thank you to the community who has supported our efforts in that. And all that we're doing for fire protection. The other thing I wanted to share tonight is in the midst of all of this, we had a baby this weekend. We had a little giraffe baby. He is a boy. He's 6'1" and 132 pounds.
That's how big Ken was. That was his size.
My husband and I were enthralled watching Baby Cam. If anybody has not seen the live cameras that we have at the zoo, we actually got to see the birds. You can watch the Baby Cam live, and the baby, look how cute he is. And my husband said, "Oh, he looks like he's wearing white tennis shoes," because you can't see in the picture, but his hooves are white. They're so cute. So, anyways. we've enjoyed, and all of everything that happens in this world, it's always nice to have a little fun and look at that. At our new little baby, this was Autumn's 7th baby. And so we are just really proud to celebrate the life of the giraffe. It was really amazing. Within an hour, he was standing up and walking. And if you still want to go watch him, you can go watch him on the baby cam and watch him in his little area. But I thought everybody might want to leave tonight on a happy note,
Yeah.
little positivity. So what better than a little baby giraffe?
He was walking, he was walking how fast? When was it, when did it happen?
Saturday.
I mean,
And within an hour, he
could-
was standing up.
Within an
in his-
hour, he was standing up.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
6'1", 132 pounds.
yeah.
He
That's
looks little, but I don't know if he's that little.
exactly right. All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
7:31.